Alan Hirsch writes, Jesus didn't come to change the world. He came to transform a small group of people and make them capable of changing the world. That's a very good observation. He poured himself into 12. And then he said, take it to the world. So he really believed in people, and he invested most of his ministry in 12. And that's his leadership, which has transformed the world in many ways. So what made Jesus so good at this? Well, the bottom line is he knows people, and he believes in us, and he invests in us, and that moves and inspires us. And he built a team, and he made their development his top priority. The Gospels are pretty clear on this one, that he spent a lot of time with his 12, and he gave them special conversations that others didn't get. So he took the time and made the effort to really know them. He spent time with them. And in the process, he discovered how to challenge and motivate each one in the way that they needed. They were all very different people, and his methods of motivation had to adjust to each person in order to draw out the best from them. So here's another way of looking at it. Take a look at this.
Once upon a time, a turtle and a rabbit had an argument about who was faster. They decided to settle the argument with a race. The turtle and the rabbit both agreed on a route and started off the race. The rabbit shot ahead and ran briskly for some time. Then, seeing he was far ahead of the turtle, he thought he'd sit under a tree for some time and relax before continuing the race. He sat under the tree and soon fell asleep. The turtle, plodding on, overtook him and soon finished the race, emerging as the undisputed champ. The rabbit woke up and realized that he'd lost the race. The moral of the story is that slow and steady wins the race. This is the version of the story that we've all grown up with. But our version of the story continues. The rabbit was disappointed at losing the race, and he did some thinking. He realized that he'd lost the race only because he had been overconfident, careless, and lax. If he had not taken things for granted, there's no way the turtle could have beaten him. So, he challenged the turtle to another race. The turtle agreed. This time, the rabbit went all out and ran without stopping from start to finish. He won by several miles. The moral of the story? Fast and consistent will always beat the slow and steady. It's good to be slow and steady, but it's better to be fast and reliable. But the story doesn't end here. The turtle did some thinking this time and realized that there's no way he can beat the rabbit in a race the way it was currently formatted. He thought for a while and then challenged the rabbit to another race, but on a slightly different route. The rabbit agreed. The turtle and rabbit started off. In keeping with his self-made commitment to be consistently fast, the rabbit took off and ran at top speed until he came to a broad river. The finishing line was a couple of kilometers on the other side of the river. The rabbit sat there, wondering what to do. In the meantime, the turtle trundled along, got into the river, swam to the opposite bank, continued walking, and finished the race. The moral of the story? First, identify your core competency, and then change the playing field to suit your core competency. The story still hasn't ended. The turtle and rabbit by this time had become pretty good friends, and they did some thinking together. Both realized that the last race could have been run much better. So, the turtle and rabbit decided to do the last race again, but to run as a team this time. They started off. And this time, the rabbit carried the turtle till the riverbank. There, the turtle took over and swam across with the rabbit on his back. On the opposite bank, the rabbit again carried the turtle, and they reached the finishing line together. Both the turtle and rabbit felt a greater sense of satisfaction than they'd felt earlier. The moral of the story? It's good to be individually brilliant and to have strong core competencies. But unless you're able to work in a team and harness each other's core competencies, you'll always perform below par, because there will always be situations at which you'll do poorly and someone else does well. Teamwork is mainly about situational leadership, letting the person with the relevant core competency for a situation take leadership. And that is the end of the story.
So I bet you haven't heard that story told quite that way before. Using it as an illustration of situational leadership. So here's one of the best books on situational leadership. It's called Management of Organizational Behavior. For groups to work effectively, some team members need more challenge and responsibility at times, while others need more invitation and relationship. Sometimes the situation will need more of one than the other. We need to learn how to recognize that so we can empower people to be at their best, just as Jesus did, as Dan explained earlier. Here is a way of assessing what leadership style is needed based upon the team member's readiness. So the first one is called directing, and this is high direction and low support, meaning this person needs to be told what to do and then basically left to do it. They don't need to hold their hand to do it. They just need to know what they're supposed to do, what's expected of them. The second phase is coaching. This is high direction and high support. So this person appreciates being told what to do and what's expected of them, and then coached and affirmed along the way. That's what they respond best to. The next one is called supporting. This is low direction, but high support, meaning this person needs room to do it their way, but still needs coaching and affirmation in order to be motivated to keep going. And then the fourth one is delegating, and this is low direction and low support. This person needs to be trusted to get the job done and left to do it, and doesn't need rewards for doing it or a lot of affirmation or coaching along the way. Certainly, you still respond and talk about results with these kind of people, with the delegator, but there's not the walking alongside type of situation that's needed for them. They're good to go. So can you think of people you serve with who function in one of these quadrants? Or maybe in certain situations, you kind of have to use various quadrants or multiples of them. What quadrant do you tend to function in? Is there one that's more accurate than the others? Whatever quadrants your team members function in, if you're going to lead them and help them flourish, you may need to navigate each of them differently and be willing to adjust according to the situation. Consider the leadership of Jesus again. He brought people together and made a team out of them. When he was arrested and killed, it's amazing that no one actually checked out. Yeah, they scattered at first, but every one of them found each other back in the upper room. They all come back. They had grown together. They realized they were better together. They had learned to lean on each other and each other's strengths. which means Jesus had succeeded in empowering each person to be their best. It's very likely some of them hated each other in the beginning, but the process Jesus used were effective and the relationships were strong. So the team was healthy and sustained each other through the worst time in their lives. And eventually, they not only survived, but as Dan said earlier, they changed the world. What are the possibilities when we develop and empower each other? We'll look at some specific ways to do that in the next video.